Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.
Hello, fly tying friends out there in YouTube land. This is Lance from Fly Fish Food. I want to show you my most popular selling nymph. This one is the Rainbow Warrior. Most of you have probably seen it. Many of you have fished it. If you haven't, you ought to try it. I don't know why it works. I'm not really sure what the fish think that it is, but it does work. This one I'm going to show for you is a size 16. I've got a Tiemco 2457 size 16 hook in the vise, so it's a scud hook. You could substitute your favorite scud hook, in there, but this one is kind of the good old standby. Then I've got a 2.3 millimeter tungsten bead. You could add extra weight to this one if you'd like. It's really easy fly to tie, and adding a little weight would make it a little more user-friendly for Euro nymphing, or if you wanted to use it as a heavier dropper below a dry fly. This is really popular around our water, local waters here in Utah, and some of the surrounding states. Like it's popular on the South Fork of the Snake in maybe a size 14, tied with a little bit extra lead wire to get down in the heavier flow of the big river. Anyhow, I'm going to start by adding some thread to the hook. I've got UTC 70 denier thread in red. I'm going to wrap it starting right behind the bead, and then I'll cut away the excess. Then I'm going to migrate the thread down the bend to where I'm going to place my tail. Okay, the tail on this fly is just natural pheasant tail center fibers. So I'll pull maybe 6 or 8 of these fibers off the stem, try and level them up a bit, and then I'm going to tie them in as the tail. I like to keep the tails on these relatively short. One of the things I see a lot when people post these flies is and everybody, one of the great things about tying your own flies is you get to decide, but if it were up to me, I would make the tails, generally speaking, shorter than most people do on this particular fly. Alright, so I've got the tail in, and I get in a hurry and start tying these quickly because I used to tie commercially, but I skipped one step that I should have told you about. I wrapped over the pheasant tail all the way up to the bead. That's an effort to make the fly very smooth as far as the body goes, so I don't have a bump back here at the tie-in point. And then instead of cutting the pheasant tail under thread tension, you can just pull the pheasant tail off, and you can eliminate the need of your scissors there. It'll just pull right away from the hook and break off nice and clean. Okay, next material I'm going to use is the body and also the wing case, which is Vivus tinsel in large. It's pearl tinsel. Okay, so I'm going to take this tinsel and start it right behind the bead, again in an effort to make the body very smooth. We're going to tie it full length. So I'm going to wrap it all the way down the hook until I get it right to the tail. I can lift it up a bit and check where I'm at. Now I'm right at the tail. I'm going to wrap back up, trying to cover some of those pieces of pearl that are showing. It's not crucial if they're all the way covered, but it does change the color of the fly a bit if you don't have the red thread underbody. So you definitely want to use red thread, and you want to coat the hook as much as possible, at least without creating too much bulk. Okay, now I've put a little whip finish or a half hitch in there to hold my thread in place. I'm going to use my bobbin cradle on the Renzetti to hold the thread in place, and I'm going to wrap this tinsel over the body to create this abdomen. Now there's a trick to this, and I'm using size large tinsel for a reason. You'll see that every wrap I make halfway overlaps the previous. So each wrap is reinforcing the previous wrap. That makes for a much more durable fly. If you tie this fly with, let's say, size small tinsel or with Flashabou or something like that, the colors will still be the same, but it won't have the same durability. One of the things I hear every once in a while is people say, you know, I love that fly, but it's not very durable. And I say, you must be tying it wrong because it's really durable for me. Usually the culprit there is they're using tinsel that's too small. So I use large tinsel all the way down to about size 20s. 18 for sure. Sometimes on a 20 I'll sneak it down to the medium size tinsel, but certainly on 14s, 16s, 18s you want to do the large size. The other nice thing about using the large size is you'll notice I didn't cut it off. When I wrapped it up to the bead, I just tied over it to hold it in place. Now I'm going to turn it back and wrap over the top of it and create a nice thorax area for the the dubbing to be placed. And I'm going to use that same pearl tinsel that I use for the body as the wing case. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to add some rainbow sow scud dubbing to the thread. This is Wapsi rainbow sow scud dubbing. Hairline also makes rainbow sow scud dubbing, and I think you'll want the Wapsi stuff. Although Hairline makes lots of great products, this is one in particular that I prefer, the Wapsi product over the Hairline. The Hairline stuff is nice, but it's a bit more coarse, so it's hard to make a really fine dubbing noodle, excuse me, and it's difficult to handle. It's just a bit more of a coarse dubbing. I think you'll find this Wapsi material wraps onto the thread a lot easier. So I created a nice little dubbing noodle here. I'm just going to create a small thorax covering the red thread and then wrapping right behind the bead. Now this dubbing tends to be a bit coarse as well. It's going to have some guard hairs and things that are sticking up. That's okay. We're going to now pull the tinsel over the top to create a wing case. Okay, I'm going to pull it directly over the back. I'm going to capture it with the thread. I'm going to put one more wrap in there to hold it in place, and then I'm going to pull the tinsel back again, and then I've got it really latched in there to where it's not going to go anywhere. Now I can whip finish, and by doubling that wing case over, it won't slip out at all. And I want to build up a bit of a red collar behind the bead. I like that contrast in there. The silver bead, the red collar of thread, and then the flashy body. And this little guy is done. It's a really simple pattern, not too much to it. If you're a little bit worried about these guard hairs, you can go back and give them a haircut and trim some of those out, make them a little bit neater. I don't think you'll find that the fish care much. In fact, it almost works better sometimes when it's all teased out after you've caught a few fish. But that, to this day, still is my most productive and most popular selling nymph, the Rainbow Warrior. Tied in a few sizes. This is the pearl version. It's also available in a black and a red version. But the pearl is the kind of the gold standard, if you will. Maybe the pearl standard is a better option. But anyhow, the Rainbow Warrior, give it a try. It's a quick, easy guide fly, and the fish love it.